Hey YouTube! So, this is the second part of the video for the Harley Benton TE70 Deluxe series. So I had this in for a wee bit of a setup and a bit of modifications. It now has evil sheep pickups. Which, as I said before, is an awesome name for a pickup brand regardless of what they are. Honky Tonk T-Type. It says on it, whoever Liam Gillen is. Don't know. That might be the guy who made them. So these pickups, they certainly look the part. I will give them that. I don't know how much they cost. I do have a bit of a criticism. It wasn't actually that easy to find stuff about them. I typed in Evil Sheep pickups. All I could find was a couple of guitar reviews. They didn't seem to have their own website or any way of getting it. I guess maybe he's small run. You know, I think it's maybe he's a guy like me, but he makes pickups. So they look the bridge pickup. It's like kind of wrapped in sort of what looks like string that came off a pirate ship or something like that. So it's definitely got the original, 52 Tele or whatever it is look going on about it. I've adjusted the truss rod, set it up a little bit better. The tuners are Harley Benton Arts. I get the feeling it should be Harley Benton Parts, but so these are locking tuners, and the owner of the guitar kind of dropped them in at the last seconds, and it was like, well, okay, I'll sort the tuners. It was dead easy. I did quite well. He let me keep the old tuners for doing it, sort of thing. Not that I think there was anything wrong with the old tuners, but if you've got this guitar and you want to put locking tuners on it, just get the Harley Benton ones. They fit straight in, no faffing about. All the screw holes lined up, dead easy. What else have I done? Really, I put in a push-pull volume control, which when you pull that up, it bypasses the three-way switch and gives you the two of these wired together as a big humbucker. So you get like a fourth sound. But if you don't pull the volume control up, you would never know it was there. I did have to route a bit of the body in below the push-pull pot because it wasn't quite deep enough. If you look inside, the routing inside, it's routed lower below the 5-way switch because it's deeper than a normal pot is, so I had to extend that route a little bit to take the push-pull. Pretty standard stuff. It is a good mod. It's my favourite Tele mod. I think it's just more because it doesn't affect anything. If you didn't know it was there, then that's it. Do a bit of a faff. I've also worked out that if I use the Dremel to cut the switch in half rather than a hacksaw blade, that's a much quicker idea. So I've improved my technique at doing that. Saved me 10 minutes or 15 minutes of sitting there with a hacksaw and trying to saw the switch in half. So I'll go for some sounds. So I'm playing through Wee Laney VC15. I'm using the 3x12 cabinet. The mic there, no effects on. Neck pickup. Bridge pickup. Middle pickup. Yeah, so I'll have a jam in a minute. Kind of do more of a review of the guitar. So now I've been inside it, I know it's pretty good. No issues really anywhere. Nice clean routing. I did notice that the Wilkinson bridge, it does say Wilkinson, but it actually says Wilkinson by Sung Il, and Sung Il are the Korean company that make lots of machine heads and stuff. You see a lot of Sung Il machine heads on Epiphones and the Tunematic bridges. So it's a Wilkinson by Sung Il. Interestingly, the wee Allen grub screws that adjust the height of the saddles are Imperial. So I don't know whether that's maybe just a... So if you've got a metric Allen key set, you need the Imperial ones to adjust the height in the saddles for these compensated brass saddles. So this has pretty much now been upgraded all round. New tuners, new pickups. Another interesting thing, the pots were wrong in it. One of the complaints the owner of this guitar had said is the tone control's not working properly. It seems to it seems to do nothing, then everything. You know, it's like, which I've had plenty of times before. That's kind of quite common if you use the wrong type of pot. You get different resistances. So you get like you do get 1 meg pots, which are in certain guitars, but as a general rule of thumb, single coils you want 250k, a 250k alpha pot for the tone, and 250k beta pot for the volume. And if you've got humbuckers, it's, you know, alpha 500 and beta 500 that you want. This had 500s in it, which kind of might have been why the tone control wasn't working particularly well. Now it's doing more what I would expect. It's got a much nicer travel. It's still the same tone cap, but it replaced the pot with a 250, which is, I'd actually what I did was I built a wee like a Veritone in an old Marshall pedal, but had an actual switch that switched between the pots, because it's one of those things that I was kind of, is it voodoo? Does it make any difference? Does anyone notice? And it does. If you've got a problem where you feel like the tone control or the volume control is doing everything between 9 and 10 and then doing nothing for the rest of the travel, it's probably you've got the wrong pot in. It's worth having a look to see if you've got the wrong pot in. So that was I had a bit of an oversight by Harley Benton, I would have said. I don't know if they're all like this. You know, maybe they changed it later on, or maybe you find it when they were designing this guitar, they used the same control box as like a, you know, like a Tele Deluxe that's got humbuckers in it or something like that. But it's definitely worthwhile upgrading. When I say upgrading the pots, there was nothing wrong with the pots that were in it. But, I mean, it's quite a common thing for people that like to buy their CTS pots and stuff, which is fair enough. I mean, CTS pots aren't actually that expensive. You know, it's like you can buy the pure luxury, super expensive pots, and they're like, you know, sort of £3 or £4 each, something like that. Most expensive pot I ever bought was it Seymour Duncan? I think it was a Seymour Duncan Yingwi Malmsteen pot, and it had ball bearings in it for, you know, when you're doing your violining things. This thing is just like pure, you touch it, it goes, it sort of spins up. It's like, it's great. I've got it in an Aria Pro. I need to get it into a guitar that's of more use in. The guitar I've got it in, there's a mini switch right next to it, so you can't actually get your hand in to get a good violining roll going. So I need to take that out and put it into something else. But I mean, that's even, I think that was the most expensive pot I could find. I can't remember whatever mood I was in. I was thinking, I'm going to try a really expensive one, and the Yingwi Malmsteen one was the most expensive. I think it was like, a tenner, something like that. You know, it wasn't. If you've got a guitar worth a couple of £1,000, yeah, a tenner for a pot's nothing. This isn't as expensive as I thought. I looked it up on Thomann, and it's like 145 quid. That might have been excluding delivery, and I think I said it was like sort of 190, 179 was my guess. So 140 quid, really, you can't really go far wrong. I don't think there was really anything wrong per se with it. I mean, obviously having nicer pickups in it is nicer. I hope these pickups weren't super expensive. I don't know, they kind of look expensive, just by the, you know, wrapping string round it and kind of looking very oldie worldy. But I guess if you're making them by hand, which I think this guy is, I just picture some guy sitting in a shed, you know, physically with a pickup winding machine, just winding the pickups. It's probably just as easy to make them out of, you know, the cloth wire and the, you know, the sort of string wrapped around it instead of using tape and all these things. They don't make any difference to the sound, but it looks cool. I was actually thinking of buying some cloth, you know, the cloth wound wire, even though it's harder to use, and it's not as good as PVC wire, and that's the two things, but it's vintage correct, so people like, you know, I think people will be impressed with that idea. It's definitely a selling point. You know, it's like, I'll put a coil split in, no problem. And it's like, I'll put a coil split in and I'll use vintage correct, you know, cloth wire, which will cost me about an extra 10 pence to do it, and it'll be able to charge more for it. So enough of that, let's have some noise. Oh, why is the drum not working? What's going on? My drum pedal's not coming on. Oh. Panic. Unplug it, plug it back in again. Maybe that'll sort it. It is, after all, a computer of some sort, isn't it? Yeah, like that. both. Distortion. Bridge. Pickups. Sorry, I forgot about the extra switch I put in. So there's the bridge pickup. Bucker. Single coil. Both pickups. Humbucker. I think the bucker will make more difference in clean. So bridge. That is humbucker. Single. Rat pedal. Single car. after much messing about with this switch, not in this guitar but previously, I decided the best way to use it was so that it completely bypasses the three-way switch. So when you're in humbucker mode, the three-way switch doesn't do anything. It's got to be in single coil mode. Yeah, so Evo Sheep pickups, they seem to be really good, very good sort of vintage, lots of bite to that bridge pickup. The neck pickup is really good as well. It's got a nice sort of woo to it. Hopefully the tone's working a bit better now as well. Yeah, so the Harley Benton seems really good. There's a slight roughness to the edges of the frets when you run your hand up and down, but it's pretty rare to actually get a new guitar. I don't know, just have a stereo number on it. It doesn't, but I think it's new or within the last couple of years. Most of the guitars I've got, ancient, so somebody at some point has. You can maybe spend a little bit of time with a file and kind of bring them down a bit. They're by no means bad. It's not like, I've had plenty of guitars, especially sort of cheaper ones from about 20 years ago, where it's like razor blades. You could rip your hand to shreds on it. It's not like that. It's just, you can feel them slightly more than you can on a more expensive guitar. Another thing I want to mention is gloss necks. A lot of people like, it's a lovely satin neck, so you can feel, or it's got an unfinished. No, I don't like that at all. I like a gloss neck. These come with a nice high gloss sheen neck, which I don't think you get on the Squires, or at least the ones I can think of. The only one I could do, modern Squire I can really think of that I've actually really played much is the Bullet Mustang, and it's got a satiny sort of almost powdery, sort of like it's not quite been finished, sanded feel going on about it, whereas this has got the nice thick gloss, and I'm always up for that. And it's not just cheap guitars, you see it all the time. And again, I'm plugging Andertons. Everyone watches our videos anyway, but they're often saying, it's got a lovely satin neck, and it's just like, I like a gloss neck. I don't understand. Maybe my sweat is different from other people's or something, but people say, I find a gloss neck sticky. And it's like, I don't find a gloss neck sticky. I feel a gloss neck feels nice. So really, there's my criticism. So overall, if you're going to buy this exact guitar, or there are cheaper ones, but I get the kind of impression that the cheaper one might actually be sort of the same guitar, but with less good hardware on it. So upgradey wise, guys put locking tuners on it, or got me to fit locking tuners, which is, if you like that sort of thing, the Harley Benton ones fitted dead easy, dead simple, and I will be honest, it did take less time to put strings on this guitar than it does to put on a normal guitar. So if my job was in the factory, at the end of the assembly line, putting strings on guitars, I would much prefer locking tuners, because you'd be able to do, 2 or 3 guitars in the same time as you can do one. And the principle about it is that, it's like when you bend a string, obviously, you get tuning problems because the string gets pulled through the plastic nut, and also the winds, when it's winding around the posts, expands and goes down a bit. That's where the locking tuners come in. They're not what I thought they were originally. I thought, this is a couple of years ago, I thought the locking tuners was, you set the tuning to where it was, then if you tightened up this thing, it just stopped it moving. But that's not what it does. What it is like a wee, inside the hole where you stick the string through, it pushes the screw on the back pushes a wee thing which clamps it in, which means you don't need to wrap it round the post. You can just have it kind of going halfway round the post once, so there's less of it there to expand when you're doing the bending. So I don't think I personally don't think I would bother with doing the tuners unless it was your thing. If you want that thing, the Evo Sheep pickups sound really good. Well impressed with them. The Wilkinson bridge, how you can upgrade a Wilkinson bridge, it seems fine. like it the way it is. I would change the pots if you had them lying about. It's one of those things that, see, that's the sort of thing that gets expensive if you can't do it yourself. Obviously, for me to change the pots and something like that, you know, it's like a couple of quid for the parts and, you know, 15 minutes for the soldering iron, but that's because I know what I'm doing. You could make an arse of it quite easily if you were trying to do it yourself. But so if I'd bought this guitar new, I would probably have changed the pots. Oh, to be honest, I would have put this switch in anyway, and that obviously, because it's a push-pull pot, it needs a new pot, so it's a B250 that I put in there. Normally I put this switch on the tone control, but this time I put it on the volume control because it was a volume control I had, not a tone control. So whether it really makes it doesn't make any difference. But it made it a bit easier to wire, actually, because it meant that all the wires that connect the three-way switch to the pot were only wee short ones. Whereas if you've got it there, all these wires have to kind of go back and forwards over that distance as opposed to being that distance. So it looks neater. And it could maybe do with a wee bit of fret, just a wee bit of smoothing on it. It's not bad. It's only because I'm trying to be really picky and trying to find things wrong with it. I'm really saying that. And it's like, if it's a £150 guitar, it's not bad. The fret job itself seems fine. There's no high frets, no low frets. The neck's a nice telly-ish feel. And it's just having the double binding, and it's maybe, this is a personal preference, I feel it's maybe a bit dark. I would maybe like it to be a bit lighter. Actually, look how easily it shows up fingerprints. I would personally like it to be a bit of a lighter colour rosewood. It kind of looks black from certain angles, but very cool from other ways. Yep, nice telly. So I managed to make another Tele Tuesday. It's only been 1 week off and I'm back in again. It was just by chance. I kind of knew that was going to happen. So if I ever get a telly, it just happens to float by on the correct day, then Tele Tuesdays will continue. What I would like to do is, I wouldn't mind actually, if some guitar shop was going to give me, you know, this and a Squire at the same price to see how the two of them compare. I would imagine this will be a higher spec guitar for the same price, probably a better one, because the thing about Fender and Squire is, you know, you've got to pay distributors and you've got to pay Fender for using the name and stuff. So even if they produced exactly the same guitar, it's going to be 50 quid more, isn't it? Because it's got to go through, you know, there's a lot more middlemen, whereas Theoman just get them straight from a Chinese factory and then straight to you, so that they don't have like a you know, a distribution network as such. It all just goes to Thomann. And if you've never watched any videos on Thomann, which is a big, is it Germany? It's a big German place. It's an amazing building. It's like the warehouse looks like something out of. In fact, it looks actually like a bit in. Have you seen, what was that film I watched with Civet? Something in the City of 1,000 Planets. It's a relatively recent, a couple of years ago, sci-fi film, and there's a bit where there's robots doing in one part of this space station, and it kind of looks like that. So you've got like racking that just goes for about a mile, as you can see in the distance, and it's all just computers. They're like robots going up, taking out guitars, as far as the eye can see, just boxes in a big racking warehouse. It's pretty impressive to look at. It looks like something out of a James Bond film. That would be just to get the price down, and that's what they've done with these. I think they did make a mistake with the pots. They're meant to be 250s, not 500s. Easy enough to change. If you're going to change pickups, then I would suggest, if you wanted to upgrade the pickups and you were getting a shop to do it, I would, you know, slip them an extra £5 and get to change the pots as well. How you're at it. Rock on!